Hello and welcome to Gross Commission, Truth in Real Estate Brokerages, where we help you understand the truth about the real estate brokerage industry so you can make smart decisions about your real estate career, earn more money, and keep more of the money you make. This is Kevin Cahill.
And this is Lisa Cahill. Today we will discuss the 4 ways you can grow your gross commission.
There really are just 4 ways to increase your gross commission income. Gross commission, the name of this podcast, is the income you receive from a closing. Now, it is the gross commission before you subtract out your commission split with your broker, any referral fees you're paying to other agents or to relocation companies, and any other fees you pay at closing, perhaps to your broker. What you have left is your net commission income. Years ago, when I was a managing broker for multiple Coldwell Banker residential real estate offices in St. Petersburg, Florida, and previously as the CEO and team leader of multiple Keller Williams Realty market centers in Tampa, Sarasota, Lakewood Ranch, Englewood, and Venice, Florida, gross commission income was the number one driver of my financial statements. GCI was absolutely the most important concern we had when seeking profitability and long-term growth and success as a brokerage. Owning and running our own brokerage and really running your own individual business as real estate agents, gross commission is still the most important financial measure of our progress and success. Everything we do as leaders and teachers and mentors and advisors to real estate agents is focused on growing gross commission income. So the number one way to grow your gross commission is, and this might seem really obvious, the number one way to grow your gross commission is to have more closed transactions. Now, you can also hand out more referrals and get referral fees from agents who then close those transactions. That's great too, but our focus in helping you achieve your goals will always be on you closing more transactions yourself. I know it's exciting to think about growing your team and the prestige of all that, and it seems impressive that you have a team. I've had teams of agents working for me when I was active as an agent, but let me be really clear with you on this notion of teams. When the market is blowing and going, agents think it would be great to hand off leads and get a big chunk of that gross commission income from the agents on their teams. And newer agents like this notion of receiving leads and being part of a productive group. But when there is a shift in the real estate market, those team owners suddenly find that they don't have enough leads for those agents to stay busy and productive. And those team owners realize that there's not enough money coming in, so they go back to keeping the good leads to make sure that they're able to hit their financial goals. And those agents on the team, once they learn the ropes, those newer agents leave teams quickly to do their own thing and keep more of their money. So there's a lot of churn and there's a lot of pressure on teams to stay busy enough so that everyone involved remains satisfied. And really, it comes back to each individual agent doing enough business so that they are able to hit their goals.
And often with teams, from a consumer's point of view, the consumers don't really know who does what on the team, and from a cooperating agent's point of view, it's often hard to reach the right person on a team. If you're trying to schedule a showing or present an offer or get an update on a transaction, teams can be a bit of a headache, which can sully your reputation in the long run and sour consumers from sending teams referrals or repeat business.
We recently sold one of our listings, and the buyer, who was represented by a buyer's agent, called us directly asking us if we would be willing to list 2 properties for him. Of course, we thanked him, expressed to him that we appreciated his compliment, even considering us to list his properties, and we got right to work on helping him. We saw, as we looked up the history of his properties in the MLS from when he purchased those properties, that he had been represented on those purchases by a big team in Clearwater, Florida, and he obviously was impressed by us such that he didn't want to use his recent agent for the purchase of our listing, and he didn't want to use those big fancy team agents that had helped him with those earlier purchases of these properties.
So what do we have that they don't have? What is it about our approach that brings us so much business?
It really comes down to mastery and professionalism.
You know, it's important to focus on lead generation and growing your database and offering your unique value proposition, but you have to achieve and demonstrate your mastery in matters of real estate.
And you achieve mastery in real estate by constantly studying the local market, staying on top of pricing and trends, and then by being learning based, constantly growing in your knowledge and skills. Lisa and I are always reading books, attending courses and online seminars, looking for ways to learn new things that will help us, to grow in our knowledge, to improve our skill sets, to better serve people, and to expand our thinking.
And then carrying yourself as a professional worthy of the trust of potential clients. You have to be mindful to present yourself to people that you come in contact with and have discussions about real estate with so that you can establish yourself as an expert in their eyes. The more people that you have relationships with and the more people who see you as a real estate expert, the more business you will do. Being professional. How responsive are you? Do opportunities pass you by because you're not ready to receive them? Are people calling you on the phone, but you're not answering and your voicemail is full? It is surprising how many real estate agents we call and we're not able to leave a message because their voicemail is full or they never answer the phone.
Or their voicemail isn't set up, or their voicemail is the default standard voicemail message from AT&T.
Or they answer their phone saying, "Hello?" This is all very poor service for their current customers, and it just looks terrible to anyone who is considering using them. It shows a lack of professionalism.
In my first month as a real estate agent, the managing broker of my office was a great guy named Len Oakley. And I was in his office numerous times when he would answer the phone. And he would say, "Len Oakley, may I help you?" Well, I just liked the way that sounded. It sounded really professional, but also really friendly. So when I answer the phone today, I answer the phone saying, "Kevin Cahill, may I help you?" And I have never had anyone suggest to me that this was overly formal or inappropriately professional. People seem to like the way I answer the phone, and it wouldn't surprise me if I actually win people over the very first time when they call me, simply because I sound like a serious professional who they would feel comfortable having represent them in the sale of their home.
And you sound like a very nice person on the phone too.
Well, thank you. I think in our business it's important to sound like a nice person, not some hard-nosed grinder, someone who is put out even answering the phone. You may be doing things that harm your business that you're not even considering. These small details loom large in the minds of our potential clients.
I learned a long time ago while I was just a junior accountant that if I wanted to move up in my organization, I had to dress and behave at that higher level that I wanted to attain. I had to conduct myself at a high level of professionalism. I soon was promoted to greater responsibilities because I had already conducted myself at this higher level. I looked and acted the part. It's the same in real estate. The more you act like a knowledgeable professional, the more you will be perceived in the manner at which you desire to be perceived. You can call it the law of attraction, but you will receive back what you put out. If you act too casual and sloppy, you just won't get back the type of business that will fund your dreams. The repercussions of how your business is done and the image that you put forth is well worth considering. If enough people try to call you and your voicemail is full, eventually you don't have to worry about it. No one is trying to call you. I've heard it said it takes years to build up a good reputation and only a split second to destroy it. Your ethics and the way you behave in public, even when you're not acting as a real estate agent, is critical.
I don't even go to the grocery store or the hardware store without being dressed for success. We often run into clients and potential clients at restaurants, the movie theater, the grocery store, the hardware store. They're everywhere. I would be embarrassed to see somebody who thinks of me as a highly professional real estate agent, and yet I'm wearing my ratty shorts with paint stains and an old t-shirt at the hardware store. It would just change how they perceive me, and that's not a price I'm willing to pay.
When I was working at the accounting firm as a CPA, I was always dressed appropriately on the weekends and in the evenings on my own time, should I happen to see a very important client of the accounting firm. And I conducted myself as a professional out in public even when I was not at work. No swear words, no risque outfits, no trash talking, no excessive drinking. You get the idea. You need to be very mindful of what you say to people, because people are going to perceive that how you talk about other people to them is how you will talk about them to other people.
And what you put out there on social media. I find it pretty amazing when I'm on Facebook and Instagram when I see real estate agents acting, for lack of a more critical word, a little immature. Acting in a way that doesn't say, I'm a professional, trust me with handling your most valued asset. Guys, pictures of your six-pack abs at the beach will not win the husbands over. And gals, your flirty behavior doesn't help you because the wives don't like it and the husbands know better, and couples don't want that type of real estate agent handling the home sale.
We've handled a lot of high-end real estate, and we've seen the full spectrum of how realtors behave around multi-million-dollar homes and high net worth individuals and families. We've seen agents who act snotty and critical. Be careful. Your client is paying attention to how you behave. Here you are acting aloof, looking down your nose. Many times we've had buyers call us directly because they were put off by their own agent's behavior, and they were favorably impressed with our professionalism, our knowledge of the home and the community, and our kind, cordial treatment of them and their family. Whether they had their kids with them or an entourage, we were not fawning all over the buyer and ignoring the rest of the group.
It's funny, sometimes you just don't know who the real drivers are, who the real decision makers might be, who might be influencing the buyers the most. So you need to act appropriately with the whole group. I often say that you need to have UN-level diplomacy, like you're dealing with negotiations at that high level, the United Nations. And we admire some wonderful ministers, especially Dr. Charles Stanley. So we always behave like Dr. Stanley is there. We don't use foul language, we don't use slang. And we admire Mr. Rogers. How would he want us to treat the people we encounter?
Take the high road and put out positive vibes and attract more good things to yourself. Be thankful and grateful for the opportunities that you have to help people. The money will definitely follow in an abundant way.
So the key way to increase the number of transactions you close each year is to have mastery and a high level of professionalism in all that you do. Make sure that you're putting forth a simply irresistible value proposition and treat everyone you encounter in a caring way, and the business will easily come to you.
So the key to closing more transactions is to pursue mastery and professionalism, to improve your skill sets, to hold yourself to the highest standards of behavior.
Now, I know that we're really in the lead generation business, And a logical conclusion would be that you need more leads to close more business. Our experience, however, is that you may not need as many leads as you think. The number 2 way to grow your gross commission is closely related to the first. You need to improve your conversion ratio on the leads that you do have, on the opportunities that present themselves to you. This is the most cost-effective way to actually close more transactions and to convert more opportunities to closed business. As a managing broker, I would talk with many top agents about their lead generation strategies. I remember years ago talking with an agent who was doing a lot of advertising on Facebook and paying for leads on Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, Homes.com, and a lot of other places. She mentioned that she had around 3,000 to 4,000 unique visitors to her website each month. Overwhelmingly, these ads attracted buyers. I asked her how she could possibly follow up with so many people. She said she had systems, and her team of 7 or 8 agents followed certain scripts and dialogues when they were following up. I asked her what the conversion ratio was from lead to appointments made. She explained that it was about 1% to 2%. I asked her what the ratio was from the appointment made to appointments kept. She said it was about 30%. So I asked her what the ratio was from appointment kept to a closed transaction, and she said that was about 50%. Now to me, that sounds like a whole lot of effort on the part of this mega agent and on the part of her team, and a whole lot of wasted time, with only 30% of the appointments ever showing up for a meeting, and then a whole lot of wasted energy and time showing 100% of those people homes, while only 50% would buy. So let me flesh that out. 3,000 to 4,000 unique visitors on her site, people who would register for whatever her Facebook ad lead magnet might have been. Then 1% to 2% of those people agreeing to meet for an appointment with a member of her team. So that is somewhere in the range of 30 to 80 appointments set each month, of which only 30% of the appointments were actually kept. So that's somewhere in the range of 9 to 24 appointments actually held, though her team was ready for 3 times as many appointments and were left twiddling their thumbs or trying to reschedule those people, which to me is just more wasted effort, good money after bad. Then 50% of those people would buy a home with these agents, so maybe 5 to 12 transactions per month. For a team with 7 or 8 agents, that's somewhere in the range of less than 1 to less than 1.5 homes sold per month per agent.
What was the average sales price then in Tampa?
Probably around $400,000 or so. And a lot of home sales may have been more expensive than the average. It was a real grind for her, and she was looking for a way to make it easier on herself and her team. I pointed out to her that there were only about 900 to 1,100 sales each month in Tampa, and about 1,800 to 2,000 closed sales each month in the entirety of Hillsborough County. So she seemed to have every single buyer visiting her site, but she was only capturing around 1% to 2% of those people who then agreed to set an appointment, which I might point out is 1% to 2% away from zero. Practically speaking, her engagement with visitors to her site, respondents to her advertising, was practically a clerical rounding error. And she was spending thousands of dollars each month and spending hundreds of hours of her time and the time of her team members. I asked her what type of budget she had for marketing to her past clients, her sphere of influence, and in building local relationships with builders and developers. We had a very thoughtful discussion about it, and she totally shifted her energy away from the type of paid lead gen and toward her sphere, Shortly thereafter, she landed a large new development with a builder, and it was so much more profitable and productive for her and her team. And it was much more productive work for those agents to meet potential buyers at the new development, where they get to show the people the new construction homes, interact with people directly, and demonstrate their knowledge, skill, and experience. And many of those prospective buyers had homes to sell in Tampa, so it was really much more productive for that agent to have cultivated relationships with her sphere and with past clients rather than trying to woo people from an ad.
It's more fun to be busy and productive. So the internet leads that she had were having a face-to-face relationship with another agent when they were ready to actually buy. You can love the way you are going about your lead generation or find yourself frustrated by the way you are going about it. You have to love what you are doing in order to have abundance. It's really helpful to engage in activities that you already enjoy and do your lead generation there. Otherwise, it will just be a struggle and you will not enjoy it and you won't likely spend much time on it, which in turn will not help your business.
And my experience has been that you don't really need so many leads in order to actually hit your goals. You just need better systems for servicing the leads that come your way so that you're able to do more business with fewer leads, with quality leads, with people who already know you and trust you. And if you have a listing, that should be money in the bank. That's money that's just going to show up as soon as you do your job. The problem we see, and we're not trying to be overly critical, but just the other day we noticed a condo on the market that had photos of 2 different kitchens in the MLS. I called the agent and explained to her that I was a little confused about the photos in the MLS because there were clearly 2 different kitchens in her photos. I asked her if one of those photos might have been the kitchen in the condo's clubhouse. She said she was at her computer and she was going to look it up, and then you could hear her gasp because she hadn't noticed this before. Her professional photographers had sent her the wrong photos, and she just uploaded them in the MLS and hadn't noticed that she had put in that photo. And this property had been on the market 117 days. I'm surprised nobody had ever mentioned this to her before, and that the sellers didn't notice this either. And she was very thankful that I'd called her and pointed this out to her. What this demonstrates to me is that there are really a whole lot of real estate agents out there who have listings that aren't selling, and they're not taking the time to figure out what they can do to get those properties to sell, when a listing really should be money in the bank.
When I first started as a real estate agent over 7 years ago, I noticed that around 30% of listings in the MLS just do not sell. They are withdrawn or they expire. Our approach has always been that we get our listings sold. We do whatever it takes to get them to sell, and sometimes that means that we have to have a tough conversation with a home seller that is not going to get the price that they were hoping. Over the past few years, we've sold nearly 100% of our listings. Sure, sometimes the seller will choose to rent his home instead of selling, or sometimes a seller decides to wait for a more favorable time to sell. And sometimes we choose to part company with a seller who is hoping for a miracle that we can't possibly make happen. No matter how many times we revise the photos and change the order of the photos and update the property description in the MLS, anything but lowering the price.
Sometimes you just need to let those difficult sellers go so they can find success with 3 other agents over the course of the next 2 years.
That's right. We have a listing-focused business, which we believe is the far more efficient side of the business. We can have 20 listings at one time and easily service them all, while it would be impossible for us to work with 20 active buyers at one time. Sure, we also work with buyers, but most of the time the buyers are also our sellers, so they will definitely always buy something, and fairly quickly once we get their home under contract. Most business plans for real estate agents factor in only a 65% listing to close transaction ratio. That means that practically 1/3 of the time, all of the work is done and no money is earned. Now, this is the average, but why build a business plan around being average, around failing 1/3 of the time? When you are working with sellers, they need to hear the truth from their agent about the market, the competition, about what buyers and their agents are saying about their home, its condition, how it compares to the other choices buyers can choose in the current market.
When you have a listings-focused business, as we do, buyers are just going to show up. And if you're working with buyers and you have a buyer that wants to buy in a certain neighborhood and nothing is matching their needs, send out letters to the neighborhood. We've done this. It doesn't take much time and energy to look in the public records to see who might have a similar sized home and write a bunch of letters to those homeowners asking if they would be at all interested in selling. In order to improve your conversion ratios, you need to have an active mindset, not a passive mindset. You need to make things happen. Go knock on doors, ask around, see who might be willing to sell, and find that right house for your buyers.
And don't forget for sale by owners. Sometimes they're not on the internet at all, but are more than happy to pay a real estate agent with a buyer.
You'll be amazed that you can convert a lot more opportunities if you take a servant leadership approach to these opportunities. If you think in terms of doing what is needed to help a few people sell or buy, you could easily have a record-setting year by taking charge and making sure the right things happen. So in terms of improving your conversion ratios, you need to do a better job with converting the leads that come in. You need to do a better job of getting every one of your listings to close, and you need to do a better job of getting your buyers under contract by finding them the right house and doing so actively.
We've heard from some motivational speakers and success speakers that your wealth will be the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with most frequently. So it's not at all surprising that you can grow your gross commission income by shifting your efforts toward nicer neighborhoods and more affluent communities.
Yes, the number 3 way to grow your gross commission is to have a higher average sales price on your transactions. Given a choice, why not focus on more expensive homes and more affluent home sellers and home buyers and become an expert in those communities? You can, in essence, increase your gross commission income without doing more transactions, possibly closing even fewer transactions.
Our average sales price is nearly double the average sales price in our local MLS. We do a lot of transactions, and when our average price point is double that of the MLS, we are working very efficiently. We believe the secret to this higher average sales price is the combination of our professionalism, our focus on more affluent communities, and our marketing, which is designed to be very attractive and compelling to people in the upper price ranges. We make it very clear in our marketing that we have achieved mastery, that we sell homes quickly. We set new price records in our communities with our home sales, and we are perceived as the best option for our ideal customers. When we first opened our brokerage, we were both relatively new to town. I came from 20 years as a CPA in a different area of Florida, and I was new to real estate sales. And Kevin moved to Florida in 2009 to run real estate brokerages and hadn't built up a database of buyers and sellers. Everyone in his database was a realtor. We had no contacts in this area and no track record. And yet we grew our business from nothing into a business that has consistently earned us well over 6 figures each year.
We are very thankful for the success we've been able to create for ourselves and our numerous sellers and buyers. though it would be very challenging to create this type of income in less affluent market areas without exhausting yourself and risking burnout. In order to really grow your gross commission, you need to leverage both higher sales prices and robust market activity. It's like a finely tuned machine. There are many factors to consider. You can't just focus on $3 million homes in communities where those are not the average. You want to mix homes that are above the average sales price because there is efficiency in your efforts, but not just ultra expensive homes because that market up there is very thin air. There are very few buyers for $3 million homes compared to $450,000 homes and $600,000 homes and $300,000 homes. And we don't turn anything away. We've worked with home sellers who we had those one people, they had the $80,000 condo in a 55 plus community. And we helped them only to find out later that they also needed help selling their $425,000 home, plus 2 other condos. So come from a place of service and you'll do really well.
What was interesting about the $80,000 condo was that those sellers, we later learned, had a neighbor who is a realtor, but she didn't want to help them with the low-end sale. We did a great job for them and they hired us again and again. The neighbor was miffed when she didn't get hired to sell the $425,000 home, but the sellers loved us, they loved our hearts, and they felt like the neighbor wasn't really interested in helping per se, just helping with the more lucrative transaction.
Like that realtor, a lot of agents have joked that they would like to be able to charge more for the less expensive transactions in order for it to be worth their time. And hey, why not just charge more for the services all around? So let's explore that notion. It would seem to make sense that the number 4 way to grow your gross commission is to charge higher fees and to have more add-on fees, administrative fees, junk fees, transactional fees. Just charge people more to do business with you.
That's brilliant. That sounds easy and it should work, right?
And charge everyone a whole lot more per transaction. If you can figure out how to get people to give you more money, then surely you'd not have to work so hard and do so many transactions. Now, bear in mind, no one wants to pay higher fees. And add-on fees, junk fees, transactional fees, whatever clever name you can call those additional commissions, those charges are poorly received by your customers, and they will hurt your ongoing revenue stream. You won't likely get repeat and referral business. Your customers will say, "Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me." Years ago, when I was running a very large national brokerage, one of my agents walked in the door just as I was leaving the office, and he stopped me and wanted me to look at his latest listing agreement. At first, I reviewed the listing agreement. Standard stuff. $285,000 sale price, 6-month listing agreement, lockbox, online marketing, everything pretty standard, until I got to the agent's commission, which I noticed he had written in an 8% commission on this listing. So I asked the agent, "How did you get them to agree to that?" And he said, "I just gave them my razzle dazzle. Oh, and I told them about all the wonderful things I would do marketing their home." And I asked the agent, "Were these elderly people?" And he said, "Yes, they were." And I said, "Well, my concern is that they're going to show this listing agreement to one of their adult children or to a trusted neighbor or friend, and people are going to say to them that the 8% commission is crazy and that the more typical commission is around 6% or so. And then they're going to be calling me, asking me what we're doing, taking advantage of the elderly like this. And that he will most likely never get any referral business from this family once they realize that 8% was an egregious amount to charge for selling their home." Now, this was not a special home. This was not a home that was going to require extensive additional advertising expense. This was not a home that was going to merit any type of cocktail party to bring out all the neighbors. This was not a home that was going to require exclusive luxury marketing. This was just a very boilerplate, entry-level, price point home in St. Petersburg, Florida. The thing about charging more money is that while you may receive a nice little bump on that single transaction, word will get out and your reputation will be soiled. People will not send you any referral business, and people will be left with a bad taste in their mouth about working with you and working with your company. The same holds true for charging buyers additional commission in a buyer representation agreement. If you're working with a buyer and you get a buyer to agree to pay you a 3% commission, explaining to the buyer that typically you get 3% in the MLS anyway for bringing the buyer, that buyer is going to be ticked if they have to write you a separate check at closing when you only earned 2% or 2.5% or 2.75% on their home purchase. We had a property that we had listed a couple years ago, and the buyer's agent had a buyer rep agreement with the buyers. We were not offering 3%, so the buyers at the closing table had to bring in additional money to pay their own agent. Now, that property received multiple offers where the price got bid up quite significantly. Now, if they hadn't bought the home, someone else would have gladly paid $100 less to have purchased the home. They might have paid more had they known exactly what they needed to pay to win the home. But at the closing, these people had to bring $2,310 extra to pay their agent because of the buyer rep agreement. At the closing table, the buyers mentioned that they were glad they were getting the house, but they felt they were overpaying because the price went up in multiple offers, seemingly oblivious to the two facts at play, namely that another buyer would have gladly revised their offer to pay what these people were paying. They only were paying $100 more than our next best offer. And that they were paying their agent an additional $2,310. I mentioned to them at the closing table that another buyer would have been happy to have bought it had they not been willing to pay the amount they were willing to pay. But I did not comment on the fact that they were paying their agent an additional commission. I let that sink in all by itself. You could tell that they were not happy about the additional fee that their agent was charging them. It was clear to us that this agent for the buyers would not be getting any repeat business or referral business from these people. And those buyers are not very likely to use that agent or that company ever again, or to ever speak positively about that agent or that company. The agent got his 3%. But in our opinion, it was a very expensive business decision for that agent to have made.
So, what we are saying is that this is not, in the end, a way to make more money. The same goes with the extra administrative fees, junk fees, processing fees, and the like. It just leaves a bad taste in people's mouths.
So there you have it. The 4 ways to grow your gross commission. We hope this information is helpful to you in growing your business. We hope you join us for episode 4, where we will talk about improving your net commission. And then for episode 5, where we will reveal our innovative business model that is at the heart of our success, the foundation of our national real estate franchise brand, Reallean. You've been listening to Gross Commission, Truth in Real Estate Brokerages with Kevin Cahill.
And Lisa Cahill.
Where we help you understand the truth about the real estate brokerage industry so you can make smart decisions about your real estate career, earn more money, and keep more of the money you make. Visit us at Reallean.com to learn more about our company and to access our resources. Franchise opportunities are available across the country.
Please be sure to subscribe to our podcast and share with your friends. Goodbye for now.